What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on my buddy Dylan's 2000 F250. This thing has the 7.3 Powerstroke diesel in it, and we picked this thing up a couple weeks ago for $3,800. It's got 160,000 miles on it, and this thing is actually pretty sweet for the price. So as you can see, it is raining out today. We've got an easy up set up to try to keep us at least a little bit dry, but we're going to be doing some things that are going to completely change how this truck drives and how this truck acts. It's really going to wake this thing up. So let's get through the intro. I'll show you guys some of the parts that we're going to be installing today, then we can get to work. Now that we've gotten through the intro, let's take a look at a couple of the parts that we're going to be installing today. So right here behind me, as you guys can see, this is a 7.3 Powerstroke diesel, and this one is pretty much 100% unmolested, which is actually really cool to see on an older truck like this. Most of these things have been messed with by kids, and they're usually a nightmare now. So there are a couple things that we're going to be installing to really wake this truck up. So the first thing that we have here is a cold air intake off of Amazon. I'll put a link in the description down below today's video, so if you guys want to pick one of these up. Now this is going to work perfectly fine for what we're doing. It's not a full-out race truck, and it's going to help this thing breathe a little bit better and also get the turbo noises out, which is mainly what we're going for here. We want this thing to sound a little bit better than it does. It's got the factory intake box on it, so we're going to get rid of all of that in the tube and replace it with this right here. Now one of the things that I'm most excited about is this HYDRA chip. So as you guys can see, I'm covering up a TS6 position chip. He accidentally picked up the wrong one, so we found this 15 position HYDRA chip. So we're gonna have to get the computer out of the truck, switch this chip out, and get this thing installed, and it should really wake this thing up. Now we are going to be messing with the exhaust. Not sure if we're going to get to it in today's video, but he does have a downpipe on the way for this thing, so I'm not sure if we're going to go ahead and modify the exhaust now or if we'll wait till later. But I think what the plan is to cut the muffler out and either dump the exhaust right after the cab out the side, or we'll just get rid of the muffler and go out the factory location. So let's get to work so we can wick this thing up. So the first thing that we're gonna do is get these batteries disconnected. We have one on each side on this truck, so we got to disconnect those to mess with the computer anyways, and we're also gonna have to get into this intake. So we'll go ahead, get those disconnected now and out of our way, and then we can start messing with the intake and the computer. Now that we've got the batteries disconnected, we're going to go ahead and start getting the intake out of our way, just to make it easier for me to get down in there for the computer. So for now, I'm just going to disconnect it here, and we'll undo this one for now too. Undo the little clips. Pretty dirty air filter, but not horrible. I've seen much worse. Now we're going to start taking this plastic cover and the housing for the stock air filter off. We're going to leave as much of the ducting as we can to keep directing coldish air back here, but we're going to take this box out of our way. We got to do it for the intake anyways, so we might as well do it before we start undoing the computer. So it's just got these little plastic clips on the front here, just like so. And then there are a couple bolts for this piece, and then a couple clips back here. Just like that. And we can set this off out of our way for now. Sorry about the rain noise, guys. If we waited for it to stop raining, we'd never get this done. So 8mm, and it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts that I see right now. See if we find any more as we go. I'm just gonna break them loose. And then this box will come loose, and then be careful. At least in our case, we have an intake air temp sensor over here that we need to pop out. We'll go ahead and get that disconnected real quick. Now we can set this off out of our way. Now that we've got that out of the way, we're gonna pause on the intake install, and we will start working on getting the computer out of here. Now that we've got all the intake stuff out of our way, and I moved the module for the old plow that used to be on here out of our way, we need to look down in here. I'm not sure if you guys are gonna be able to see it. Let me see if I can turn the brightness down on my light a little bit. So if we look down in there, there's actually 2 wiring harnesses. Not sure where the best spot for you guys to see it's gonna be. There's one right there, and then there's also one more right over there. We need the one that's closest to the fender well. So this side, it's gonna be the longer one, and I believe it's a 10mm bolt right in the center. We'll go ahead, back that out, and then we can move to the inside of the truck. All right, now let's see if I can reach my hand down in there and get this bolt loosened up. Now that we've got the bolt out of the wiring harness for the computer, this is the computer right here. So ours is an automatic, so it's gonna be nice and easy. We should be able to undo these 2 front bolts that you guys can see right there, and then this thing should swing right out. If it was a manual and you had a clutch pedal here, you could undo the nut down there at the bottom and take this whole bracket right out and then separate it. So we're just gonna do these 2 front bolts here and get this thing pulled out. These bolts are 7mm. You got to go way off to the passenger side, and then you can pull it out. It's got these little tabs back there that lock it in. So as you guys can see, we just got our computer out. So now we can take this over to the bench and start replacing the chip. All right, guys, so we got the new tuner in for the 7.3. I'm not sure how much of it I left in this video, but he showed up with the TS 6-position tuner, and we seen on their website 99 to 03, so we just assumed it would fit the 2000. But once you go on their website and look a little bit more, it is subdivided into all different years. So basically every year needs a different one for the most part. So he decided to throw that one on Facebook Marketplace and to buy a new tune. So he decided to go with the HYDRA chip, and it seems to be a really cool piece so far. It has like 15 different slots, and they have a whole bunch of different tunes that we can choose from to throw it on there, and it's still a shift on the fly type tuning. Comes with a little display with buttons on it so you can see what tune you're on and you can change it on the fly. So far it seems to be super cool. We're gonna get this thing set up here in just a minute, and I'll show you guys the process for doing that. Then we'll get it installed on the truck and go take this thing for a ride, and I think it's gonna wake this thing right up. So here's the box that the HYDRA chip comes in, and we've got some of the stuff opened up here, but you get this little cable to connect to the actual device right here, which lets you switch between tunes, and it'll also display which tune you're on, which I actually think's super cool. Also comes with a wire brush and a piece of Scotch-Brite to clean off the terminals or the connector on the ECU, and obviously a sticker. Then it also comes with the cable to plug into your laptop, and then the chip itself, which we have in the bag right there. I'll show you guys how we're gonna install that once we get there. But we've got their device downloaded onto our computer here, their software. It was super easy. You go to their website and you can download it for free. We've got the chip itself plugged into the laptop here, and as you guys can see, as we scroll down and through here, All these slots are currently blank. So let's pick out which tunes we want. I'll show you guys the options that are available. We'll get this thing set up and go give this thing a try. So now that we've got this screen pulled up on the computer, we need to get our ECU, which I showed you guys how to pull out. And as you can see, there's a code right up there at the top. In our case, it's NVK4. So it's going to be the biggest and boldest letters and number on the computer, and I believe it's always going to be 3 letters followed by a number. So now that we have that code, we can come back over to our computer here. We're going to go to box/hex conversion, and we're going to go to actual box code from PCM sticker. Going to hit the drop down. In our case, we're going to be looking for that NVK4 number, NVK4. And then we're going to need this code right here. The desired calibration is going to be VRAA6S3. For us, it's going to be different depending on your ECU code. So make sure you take a screenshot or a picture or whatever you need to do of that so we can keep that handy when we're ready to start looking for files. So I'm going to go ahead and take a picture of that real quick, and then we can start choosing our files. So now that I've got a picture of that code so I can keep it nice and handy, we can close out of this. And we're going to want to go to whichever slot you want to put a file on. So we're going to start right off at 1, and we're going to go right down through. There's 15 of them. So we're going to hit change. And then right up here, we want to type in that code. Apparently it pops up for you, as the camera won't focus. Apparently it pops up for you because I believe that's our code right there. So now any of the files that we want, we're going to have to pick them using that code. Make sure that they have the calibration code that matches. If not, you're going to have some issues. So just make sure those codes match. And then we can go through here. See, these are all the different files that are available for our particular ECU. So there's a ton of them here, which is really cool. We're going to sit down, pick through them, and decide which ones he wants to run. So he decided that he wants to do the 1100 RPM high idle. So we're going to click on that. We'll hit select, and then as you can see, it still says unprogrammed, but it's got our calibration number right there, and it says that that is no longer blank. So we're going to continue to do that all the way down until we have all 15 of these filled up, and then we will come back and flash it to the chip. So we just went through and figured out all the files that he wants to put on here. We filled up all 15, so I'll start at the top just so you guys can see what we decided to go with. So number 1 is a 1100 RPM high idle, 2 is factory stock, 3 is whisper mode, and then 4 is fuel sipper, 65 horsepower. Then 5, we go to 65 horsepower daily driver, 6, 80 horse daily driver, 7, 65 towing, 8 is 80 horsepower towing. Then we start getting into the performance stuff. So for 9, we've got 65 horsepower performance. 10 is 80 horse performance, 11 is 100 horsepower performance, 12 is 100 horsepower racing, then 13 would be 120 horsepower racing, 14 is 140 horsepower extreme, and then for 15 we decided to put a theft/dead pedal mode on there. So now that we've got that all done, we can go ahead and write this calibration, and we can hit this button right here, program all positions. And now it's programming. You will see this little progress bar pop up. And we're just going to go ahead and let that thing do its thing here until it's at 100%. All right, so once that screen disappears, this thing is fully programmed. You've got a nifty little button right over here. You can print your calibration list. So if you can't remember them like I wouldn't, you can go ahead and print yourself off a list to keep in the truck or wherever you want to put it. But now that we've got that all taken care of, all the files are on the chip. Now we can start installing the chip on the ECU and get it thrown into the truck. Now that we've got the computer out, there's going to be this little plastic cover that's right here, and you just very carefully pry that thing off. We used a little flat blade screwdriver or a pick, and then you have access to the computer where the chip actually needs to go. We're going to take a piece of emery cloth, and we're just going to go in here. It has some sort of like rubbery like substance on here, and we're just going to start taking that off very carefully. I like to hold it upside down to try to keep as much crap from going in the computer as possible. And we're just going to keep working at that until these contacts are nice and clean and we think that they're going to make a good contact with the chip. You just want to go in there carefully with this brush and scrape the rubber that is on the little terminal here. It's like a rubber coating almost, like a, I don't know what it's exactly called, but it's basically like rubber. So you want to scrape that, then use the little piece of Scotch-Brite to get that all cleaned up so it's nice and a good contact. And now we're ready to slap the chip on this thing and put it in the truck. So we want to drill a hole in this housing right about in that area so that we have something for our wiring to go through. Just like that, so that we can run the switch. Now we can clean that out. So now that we've got everything programmed, we're ready to start installing the chip. We're gonna feed this ribbon cable through the cover for the ECU here. We've got our hole drilled right above that. So now that we've got the ribbon cable fed through our plastic housing, I'm gonna go ahead and plug it into our chip, just like so, just like that. You'll feel it when it seats itself right in there flush. Got your little notch in there that's lined up. And now we can grab the computer and slide this chip in. You're gonna want the ribbon cables kind of something like that. It's gonna line up with the spot on the computer that we cleaned up. We're just gonna simply push it on, and you'll feel it slide into place, just like so. Make sure it's seated, and then we can feed this back into the plastic housing that we have here and get the computer seated back in there and run this cable through the dash to wherever we want our little tune controller. So now we can just feed the cable through our housing here, just like so. We've got that seated up there nice and tight and flush. Now we can go reinstall the computer. So it's very easy to put this computer back in. We're just gonna do it in the exact opposite of the procedure that we did to take it out. So I'm gonna tilt it in a little bit like that. I'm gonna slide it into place. And then we just need to get it to go forward enough to where the plug will line up and lock in, just like so. And then you just push on it a little bit so that the bolt holes will line up again. Push in and up, just like that. We'll get our bolts in, tighten it down, tighten the bolt for the harness on the engine bay side, and this thing's ready to go. So I know you probably can't see down in there, but we do have the little bolt for the ECU plug tightened up, and that's all hooked back up. Now I've done this a few times, and I found the easiest tool for the job is a little 10mm ratcheting wrench. Makes life so much easier than using a socket or an extension in there. So this was definitely the ticket to getting that done without getting a headache. So the only thing left to do now is hook up both batteries and install the tune selector. So we'll go ahead, get the tune selector installed where we want it, and then we can hook up the batteries, fire this thing up, and finally try this thing out. So he's decided that he wants to put the tune selector right here on the dash. So we're gonna use a little bit of rubbing alcohol, make sure that this is all cleaned up so that the double-sided tape will stick. Then once we get that mounted, we can zip tie this ribbon cable up out of our way so he doesn't step on it or anything like that. And this thing should be good to go. I think that's a perfect little spot for it. So let's get this thing mounted up because I'm super excited to try this thing out. Peel one piece of that off. You can stick it to the back of our tune selector. Close enough. Not close enough. Peel the other piece off. It's actually Velcro, not double-sided tape. But before I do that, now that I'm thinking about it, let me go ahead and plug the ribbon cable in. Just like that. You can always move it if you want it somewhere else. Yeah. And they make a really nice flush mount kit for these things, guys. I think he's gonna order that in the future, and we'll get it recessed into the dash either over here or see if we can find a longer cable and put it over there. But for now, I think that's gonna work perfectly fine for him. We'll get the cable zip tied up and out of the way, try to make it as neat as possible, and then we're finally ready to try this thing. We're gonna go ahead and start installing this little intake. It's just that cheap little Amazon kit, but it's gonna get the job done. So we're just gonna put that on like so with a hose clamp right here, and we've got another hose clamp to go right next to it. Get this guy on. throw the filter on this one.
Tighten up. You want the 7D?
Yeah, probably. Alright, so we've got this thing oriented how we want. We can go ahead and tighten this clamp down. Do that by hand so I don't break these Chinesium hose clamps. If your truck has this intake air temp sensor like this one does, you've got a couple options. Obviously this pipe has nowhere for us to put it. You could get a different one and drill a hole and use a grommet and stuff and put it in the pipe, or you could like loosely zip tie it right to the filter, something like this. We're just gonna go ahead and rig this up somewhere, probably something just like that with a big zip tie around it for now, and we will see what we want to do with the exhaust. All right guys, so not sure if you can see it, but there's a muffler right there, and that's the problem. But also before the muffler there's a big break right there, so we're gonna go under there with my handy dandy little hanger remover tool, and we're gonna get that rear section dropped out of there and then decide if we want to do like a turn down, bring it out here, bring it out the back, or whatever we want to do for now. So I'm gonna get under there and start trying to pull this thing off. There we go. I know exactly how to fix this.
Oh, this thing is clapped. What are you gonna cut?
All of it.
My brake lines?
Whole truck. No, I'll keep it away from the frame. I don't want to accidentally cut through it like a hot butter knife.
Wow.
Fixed it. That's better. Much better. Sounds so much better.
It does.
All right guys, so we're finally ready to start this thing up. So I'm gonna make sure that we put it in the factory stock mode real quick. I printed out a list of our tune files, which we have right here. So we're gonna go ahead and fire it up in number 2, and then we'll try out the high idle, the whisper mode, and then we'll just go through them and then take this thing for a ride. So we'll put the key in real quick. Let's go ahead, and it's on 0 it says, so we'll go 2. Let's fire this thing up. All right, so that's on number 2. It's running stock like it should. Let's go ahead and get the wheel out of our way there. Let's go for high idle, which should be 1100 RPM high idle on tune 1. Which it is. So let's go to 2. Back to stock. Let's go to whisper mode. That's whisper mode. That's cool. Interesting. So whisper mode does quiet it down a decent little bit. Let's see if it dips in RPM. Yeah, it just dips it down in RPM a little bit. Sounds kind of cool. So now we're gonna go through them and just make sure it stays running on all of them. Next one would be fuel sipper, then daily driver. So let's try the next one. So it's in 14 right now, which is the extreme tune. So we're gonna let it warm up here for a second. Then we will go take this thing for a ride. Might give it a few revs on extreme just to see if it smokes, and then go see how this thing drives. Oh yeah, she's wicked up. Dude, this thing's gonna rip. Let's set up a camera and go take it for a ride. All right guys, so not sure if you can see the little tune selector right here. It's actually right behind the blinker for me, but Dylan's a little taller than me, so it might be perfect for him. But we've got it on 5 right now, which should be the 65 horsepower daily driver tune, correct?
Yep.
Perfect. So let's go take this thing for a ride. I'll throw clips in of when this thing was bone stock and we took it for a ride. It's a great running truck, but it was a stock 7.3. It was pretty gutless. So I'll throw clips of that in. Obviously that was during the day. This is at night, so it might be hard for you guys to judge. But I'm curious to see what Dylan's reaction is once he drives it, and I'm curious to see what it does when we turn the tune up. So let's go ahead and take this thing down the road. Dude, on the 65 horse tune, that thing woke it right up.
It's ready to rip.
Holy crap, guys. That's the 65 horse tune. The daily driver one. Good Lord. This thing's gonna rip. It's definitely gonna gap your brother's truck now.
I can't wait.
That's floored, guys. Yeah, I think once we get a chip on this thing, I think it's gonna run pretty good. All right, let's hop on the highway quick here and just see how this thing feels. Dude, this thing is ripping. Holy crap, compared to what this thing was, we might turn it up 1 or 2 more and just see what it does, and then let Dylan drive this home truck here and see what he thinks about it. So let's go ahead, we're on 6, let's go to 11. Turn it up to 11. Let's see what it does here. Holy crap. The tires get to humming real quick. It was definitely smoking that time, guys.
Holy shit.
Dude, this thing rips. I wish it was daytime so you guys could see, but compared to what it was before, this is night and day difference. All right, great spot to stop, bro. So we'll go ahead and switch with him real quick and let him drive it. So we're gonna go take it for another ride. Now we've got Dylan in the driver's seat. I believe we're on tune 5 again, so the 60 horse tune, and we'll see what he thinks of this thing.
That's awesome. That's such a difference. Big difference. Holy shit. Ready to bump it up to 140.
That's a big difference.
Holy shit.
The 140 is a huge difference. Dude, the transmission felt fine. It didn't feel like it was slipping at all.
You know, there's still one more thing we gotta do.
Yo, this thing actually rips pretty good. let this thing idle for a few minutes here and let that turbo cool down, and check everything over and make sure we're good. And this thing is a certified ripper, guys. All right, guys, so as you've seen, we just took this thing for a ride. I know it's dark, you probably can't see much, but he is absolutely loving this thing. And as you've seen, I took it for a ride, and this thing is a completely different truck from when we started. Between the intake, cutting off the muffler, and putting this tune on it, this thing absolutely rips. If you have a 7.3, I definitely recommend checking out the HYDRA chip. This thing works phenomenal. It gives you tons of options for customization. You can put different custom calibrations on it, have your own tuner, make a file, flash it to the chip, and then switch to it on the fly. We did try out the 140 horse tune, and this thing seems to absolutely love it. It does smoke quite a bit on the 140 horse, but it seems to be perfectly happy about it. So this thing is an absolute certified ripper for all under 600 bucks. So we do have a couple other things that we'd like to do to this truck. So if this truck is something you guys would like to see stick around on the channel, make sure to let me know down in the comments below. We do have a downpipe for this thing, a nice 4-inch pipe to put on here and then make it exhaust for it. And I really think that that's gonna help tie this all together, make it sound really nice. So like I said, if that's something you guys wanna see on this 7.3, make sure to let me know down in the comments below. As always, I appreciate you for checking out the channel. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and check us out on all of our other social media platforms, Facebook, TikTok, and Bought to Build Official on Instagram. And we will catch you on the next one.